Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to be going over the technology that I used in the opening scene to my film Godspeed. So for my editing software, I chose to use iMovie just because, it comes with the iPhone, which is what I use to record. And it's a pretty good software. I've actually used it before, and so I was, familiar with it already. And it allows you to, edit the clips together. You can choose your, transitions, fades, wipes. For the most part, I just used blank transitions, but I actually did in the beginning the scene like fades from black just to create a cool effect. And then it also allowed me to edit the audio, which there was one clip where there was kind of an audio mistake because there was no like background sound effects, but it was supposed to be raining. So I added rain sound effects. It's just to add to the immersion of the scene. And then it also allowed me to add, the credits and the title, which is, obviously important because it's the opening of my film. And, I had all different kinds of, fonts to choose from and whatnot, but yeah. And then for color grading, this was another form of editing that was, I used a lot in my project. I use color grading to change the colors of my shots to make it, more cinematic. And I really only did this through, the iPhone settings. I just went to my camera roll after I recorded the clips and hit edit. And then I changed, the vibrance, exposure, brightness, all that kind of thing. Just to make the film, I wanted all the clips to kind of look similar. So they had like the same kind of vibe and the same tone. And some of the clips actually were recorded at different time of day where it was kind of brighter than it should be. So I went in and actually, changed the brightness and whatnot so that, there was more continuity. I didn't want to just go from one clip where it was bright outside to one where it was dark. So, I had to change the lighting and all that. And then it also let me put, filters over the scenes. I kind of put film filters over it just so it looked more cinematic and less I'm just recording a video on my phone, which, I was, but I wanted to really make it look like a movie. So, yeah. And then for the hardware, the only hardware that I really used for the opening was just my iPhone. Every single shot was filmed with my phone. I didn't have a camera, obviously, but and yeah, all the editing, all that kind of thing, everything was done on my iPhone for the most part. The only part that really wasn't was the research, and we'll get into that soon. But yeah, as far as the recording, all on my iPhone, all the editing, all the splicing the clips together, all that, all on my iPhone. So okay, so as far as research software goes, the primary software I use for research was just Google. I would Google different filming techniques and different, kinds of shots and genre conventions and whatnot. I'd watch YouTube videos on them. I would, read about them in websites and so I could implement them into my project. And then I also use Google Earth just to, kind of find a filming location for my final scene. Just because, I needed a secluded road that was kind of, had good lighting and whatnot. And then I would, scout it out in person after. And then lastly, I used Amazon Prime to rent the Fast and Furious films so that I could watch them for additional research, to see another director's take on the racing genre. And I watched the first two films for this. And I think it was really useful for, because I implemented a lot of their techniques in my project. So, yeah.